Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. Before we dive into today's video, I just wanted to address two elephants in the room. The first one being, yes, I know, new location, new background, we love to see it, but I don't know how realistic this setup is going to be moving forward. I mentioned to you guys in previous videos that this apartment complex is a lot better than my old one, but at the same time there are still some issues and noise is one of them. Unfortunately, we have an upstairs neighbor who is very loud and likes to stomp around, and we're also near the elevator, so sometimes you can literally hear the elevator going up and down, and honestly all of that just gives me anxiety. So I'm not really sure again how realistic this setup is going to be in my future videos, but I wanted to try it out for this one just because it took me some time to really set up this corner and make it my own, and I really want to be able to film here. I just don't know if the powers that be will allow that. So hopefully you guys will see this background in future videos, but at the same time I can't promise you that, so sorry in advance if it doesn't work out, but I at least wanted to try it for this video. Also, I do have an entire video where I transform this space and make it into my own and really reorganize my bookshelves as well as decorate it for fall, so I will be sharing that video with you guys as soon as I'm able to. I'm just trying to wait for a few more things to come together in this space, and then once that's done I will upload that video. So definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications so that way you'll be notified when that video goes live. The second elephant that I wanted to address is that you might be able to tell that I have something going on this side of my mouth. I mentioned in previous videos that I am on a 2-year Invisalign treatment at the moment. Unfortunately, the aligners that I currently have in my mouth are really sharp and they're cutting the inside of my mouth. So I do have orthodontist wax on this side of my mouth just to prevent my mouth from being irritated and getting scratched up throughout this video. So I'm sorry if you notice it, and I'm really sorry if it's distracting, but I need it, like legit need it, in order to survive and get through my days. So again, apologies if you notice it, but I'm really hoping you guys don't. This video is already off to a hot start, right? So with all of that out of the way, let's actually get into why we're here today. So by the title of this video, you can tell that this is going to be my spooky season TBR. And guys, I'm really excited that fall is officially almost here and that the leaves are going to be changing, the weather is going to get more crisp, and of course we got the whole ambiance going on. I love fall ambiance and just the coziness of it all. So again, really excited, like most people, that this season is finally back, and I just love everything that comes along with it, along with the spooky season and just all of the creepy, paranormal, and just, you know, the Halloween things going on throughout this season. So because of that, I really wanted to share all of the books that I plan on reading during the spooky season. I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to get to, but I'm definitely going to try my hardest because I've got some great books here. A lot of them are backlist, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. A lot of them are because I'm still trying to play catch up. Still a great list nonetheless, and I'm really excited about all of these books. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started. So the first book that I have here is Hunted by Darcy Coates. So this book I have actually had since last year and I just never got around to reading it, but I've always wanted to keep this on my spooky season TBR because I just feel like the synopsis and the plot for this just sounds like it's best suited for fall and Halloween more specifically. So this story is actually about a young woman named Eileen who is really into hiking and also photography. She goes into the woods and takes a lot of pictures of just nature and things like that until one day she ends up going missing, and the only thing that's left behind is her camera. And this camera of hers has all of these bizarre photos, and investigators are trying to figure out exactly what happened to her by looking through her camera roll and seeing what was actually captured. Eileen actually has a brother named Chris, and Chris is devastated by Eileen's disappearance, and so he decides to take it upon himself to organize his own search party in hopes of finding Eileen in the woods, or at least any trace of her. When him and the search party end up going into the woods, they start looking for Eileen and they're trying to really figure out again what happened to her. But as the search goes on, they notice sinister things start happening and they start to realize that they're not the only ones in the woods, and the story takes off from there. I know that synopsis was pretty brief, but to me it still sounds really good and really interesting. Honestly, this cover is so ominous. You can see that there's somebody all the way back there in the woods. So I don't know if this is going to have a paranormal vibe to it, or if this is actually going to be a human entity that is causing issues for Chris in this search party. Either way, I'm really excited to dive into this one and to see how this all plays out. This is going to be my first Darcy Coates novel, so I don't know how this is going to go. I hope she's going to be an author that I really like. You guys know I'm not really into horror or gore, so I hope this story doesn't have all of that, or at least a lot of that. I really don't know too much about Darcy Coates especially as a writer. Erin from Erin Megan, who you guys know that I talk about pretty frequently on this channel because her and I are pretty good friends, and Erin loves Darcy Coates, and I know she always talks about her in her videos, but you guys know that Erin is the queen of horror. So of course she's going to be fine with any like gore and things like that, but me, not really. So again, I really hope that I can get through this book with no issues, but nonetheless, I'm still really excited to read my first Darcy Coates novel. The next book that I have here on this TBR is none other than Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I know I'm really late to the game here when it comes to reading Mexican Gothic, but also just reading something by Silvia Moreno Garcia because I know she has a plethora of books out now that people seem to love and adore. But I really want to be introduced to her work through Mexican Gothic because this was the book that I saw the most and seen so many people praise this book and talk about it, even still to this day. I feel like I still see this book pop up on people's spooky season TBRs year after year after year, which is a great thing. So the story actually follows a young woman named Noemi, and Noemi is known as like a debutante. She's a socialite, so she's not really the type of gal that likes to really get like down and dirty or anything like that until she receives this frantic letter from her cousin who lives all the way, I think, in the Mexican countryside, and she lives in this like Gothic mansion. And so Noemi reads this letter and realizes that her cousin needs help, and so Noemi travels all the way to this mansion to try to figure out what is going on with her cousin and why she sent this frantic letter. And when Noemi gets to this mansion, she starts to notice that there are creepy and weird things happening inside the mansion. Like the people inside are being weird, but also the mansion itself is being weird. And so now Noemi is going to have to try to solve, I guess, a mystery and figure out how she's going to not only save her cousin, but how she's also going to save herself and escape this mansion. So I'm really excited to read this one because again, I've seen nothing but great reviews about this book. Everyone talks about the atmosphere and the descriptions that Silvia Moreno Garcia really goes into in this book. And I've also heard that a lot of people really like Noemi's character and just how she is so brave and all of that stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to diving into this one finally and being able to say that I read Mexican Gothic and cross it off in my TBR list. The next book that I have here is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. So this story actually has two timelines, one in 1982 and one in 2017, I'm pretty sure. And so starting in 1982, there is this young woman named Viv Delaney who decides to take this night shift as a clerk at this motel, the Sundown Motel. And while Viv is going through her shift, she actually ends up going missing and her disappearance remains unsolved for years. And so then you fast forward to 2017 where her niece Carly actually starts working at this motel because Carly wants to solve her aunt's disappearance once and for all. But as the story progresses and as Carly starts to work more and more at this hotel, paranormal things happen. She also starts to realize that a Pandora's box is open and now she is actually in danger, and then the story takes off from there. So similar to Mexican Gothic, this is another book that I've heard nothing but great things about. Honestly, I've heard nothing but great things about Simone St. James and her work overall. I feel like a lot of people really love her books and loves the fact that she plays up that paranormal aspect in her books. And I love a good ghost story, I love a good haunted house and things along those lines, so I know that I'm probably going to eat this book up and devour it. And once I read this and hopefully enjoy it, I definitely will be picking up the other books that she has come out with since. The next book that I have here is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So another backlist book. Like I told you guys, this TBR is pretty much filled with nothing but backlist books, and I'm okay with that. So this one I've actually had on my TBR since last year as well. As you can see here, I do have the 50% off Barnes & Noble sticker because I got this way back when they were having one of those sales. I had this book for a while, but I'm hoping that I can finally get around to reading this and also just finally having another Riley Sager book under my belt. I've only ever read Survive the Night, and I'm not sure why I keep putting off on reading more by Riley Sager because I did enjoy Survive the Night. Contrary to popular belief, I did enjoy it, but I don't know, I keep putting off his books and not reading them. I have this as well as The House Across the Lake, but again, have not picked them up. So I'm hoping that finally this time around I will actually get to this and be able to say that I read more than one Riley Sager book. So this story actually follows a young woman named Jules, and Jules is an apartment sitter, and she ends up getting this job to apartment sit at this place called the Bartholomew, and it's one of the most famous and secretive buildings in Manhattan. So Jules is really psyched about this job, and so when Jules gets there, she actually befriends another apartment sitter, and you know, they're having a good time, they're chatting, they're talking whenever they see each other, until one day this apartment sitter ends up going missing. And so now Jules is really concerned because she's like, wait, what happened to her? Is this going to happen to me too? And so while Jules is dealing with all of that, she starts to notice that creepy and spooky things start happening around the Bartholomew, and now Jules has to figure out not only what happened to this other apartment sitter, but if she's going to be able to escape the Bartholomew alive. I'm not really sure if this book has any paranormal elements involved or wrapped up in it, but as you guys can tell from the previous books that I've shown, Again, I love a good ghost story, I love a good paranormal story, so I just really hope that this has that in there. And if it doesn't, it still sounds like it's going to be good, because I love a locked room mystery and thriller, and I love when the MC has to figure out how they're, again, going to escape this house or apartment or whatever they're in alive. I just really hope that Riley Sager can actually become a favorite author of mine, because like I said, I really did like Survive the Night, and so if his writing style and like plot points are anything like that book, then I just feel like he's probably going to be another favorite author of mine in the near future, but we will see. Before we get into the books that I don't have physical copies of, I'm just going to get these last two out of the way because I actually do have them physically, and the books that I am talking about are The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains by Lisa Jules. So I am not going to read the synopsis for this one or tell you anything about this, because this is the sequel to The Family Upstairs, so I obviously don't want to spoil anything for me or for you, so I'm going to put this down. But this one is the first book in this little duology right here, and I've seen so many people talk about this on Bookstagram right now. The thriller block is hot with this duology from Lisa Jules. A lot of people are talking about it and a lot of people are giving it great reviews, so that makes me really happy, because you guys know how I feel about Lisa Jules. Despite all of that, I still don't actually know the full synopsis of this book. I just know that it involves a family that I guess has dark secrets and a dark past, and they don't want it to get out, but it obviously gets out. So on the back here it says, soon after her birthday, Libby Jones returns home from work to find the letter she has been waiting for 25 years. She rips it open with one driving thought: I'm finally going to know who I am. She learns not only the identity of her birth parents, but also that she is the sole inheritor of their abandoned mansion on the banks of the Thames. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. If you know how to pronounce Thames, definitely let me know down in the comments, but I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Everything in Libby's life is about to change, but what she can't possibly know is that others have been waiting for this day as well, and she is on a collision course to meet them. In The Family Upstairs, the master of bone-chilling suspense brings us the can't-look-away story of three entangled families living in a house with the darkest of secrets. Another book that sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. You guys have heard me say in multiple videos that I love books that have complicated family dynamics and relationships involved, especially in my thrillers, because you know it's going to be a good time when it comes to the dark secrets being exposed, people just having the skeletons in their closet coming out. Like, it's always a big ordeal and a big thing, and I just love that in these type of stories, because entertainment, and I just love being able to unravel the layers and layers that comes along with having a family. I'm really excited to read both of these at some point. I might film a reading vlog where I read both of these, who knows, but either way, really looking forward to it. And you guys know that I am on a Lisa Jules kick right now. I'm trying to read as many books of hers as I can, especially before the end of the year, just because I really like Lisa Jules. I just want to be able to read as many books of hers as I can. The next book that I'm hoping to get to during the spooky season is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. As you can see, I'm trying to use this TBR as a way to catch up on Riley Sager's works, or at least some of them. So I actually don't have this book physically, so I am going to just pop up a picture of it up on the screen here. I really do like this cover in this green. It's really giving that whole like ghost hunting and paranormal vibe, like that type of green. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm actually just going to read the synopsis for this because I know nothing about this book except for the fact that this is a lot of people's favorites. So right here it says, what was it like living in that house? Maggie Holt is used to such questions. 25 years ago, she and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night. The ordeal Ewan later recounted in a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits become a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville horror in popularity and skepticism. Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book, but she doesn't believe a word of it. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale. But her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in House of Horrors, lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous thanks to Maggie's father. Even more unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place filled with relics from another era that hint at a history of dark deeds. As Maggie experiences strange occurrences straight out of her father's book, she starts to believe what he wrote was more fact than fiction. Ooh, that sounds so good. Like I told you guys, I didn't really know anything about that synopsis, but that sounds like that's actually going to be up my alley a lot. I'm really looking forward to that one. I have seen people on Goodreads say that it's not as paranormal as you might think. Like, a lot of people say that Riley Sager didn't really lean into it all that much, or maybe he could have went further. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm still gonna give it a read, and I'm still really excited about it. So I'm gonna make sure that I go on to Barnes & Noble or wherever I have to go to in order to get this book physically, because it just sounds like a book that I'm really gonna like and enjoy. The next book that I have here on this TBR is Wonderland by Jennifer Hillier. So this story actually has a lot of elements that I typically love in books. It has a carnival / county fair setting, and it also has mystery. I love those two things in my thrillers. I don't know what it is about a carnival setting that gets me, but every single time it's in a thriller or a horror book, I'm probably going to pick it up. This story actually follows a young woman named Vanessa, and she starts her first day as a deputy police chief of Seaside, Washington, and she's having a good start. She's really enjoying the job so far, despite the fact that she is already being pulled into this crime scene investigation because she goes to this carnival, which I'm assuming is known as Wonderland, and when she gets there, she sees that there is a decomposing body of a homeless man, and so Vanessa is obviously trying to figure out what happened there. But while that's going on, a teenager who is also an employee of Wonderland ends up going missing, but their disappearance isn't as cut and dry as it may seem, because the day before, this employee actually went viral on social media, I guess doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing on top of the Ferris wheel, and now the next day they're missing. So Vanessa is trying to see if there is a connection, I guess, between this decomposing body of this homeless man as well as this missing teenager, and the story, I'm assuming, takes off from there. I know that probably wasn't the best synopsis, but that's kind of what I'm gathering from looking at Goodreads, and either way, I'm still gonna pick it up and give it a read because I read Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier earlier this year, and I loved that story. Her writing is so compelling and it is so raw and just so good that I knew that I needed to pick up another book by her. And I don't really see too many people talking about Wonderland. I think I've only seen a few booktubers mention it here and there in past spooky season and like October TBR videos, but I don't see as many people talking about it. So I don't know if this is just one of her like hidden gem type of books, but I'm really happy that I stumbled upon it when I was just browsing online. So I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this one. And the last two books that I don't have physical copies of, but I am going to just kind of put them together because they do go together. So the first book that I'm talking about is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. It's funny because I actually went to the bookstore yesterday and I found a copy of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but I decided not to buy it because I really just wanted to read it on my iPad because I don't know if I'm actually going to like it enough to want to have a copy of it on my bookshelves. So when I end up reading it and if I end up liking it, then I might go back to see if they still have it, and if not, I'll just order a physical copy. But I just thought that was really funny that they had it there when I was already planning on reading it. But I don't really know anything about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The only thing that I know, and that I feel like a lot of people know, of course, is the Tale of the Headless Horseman, and that's pretty much it. I know virtually nothing else about this, but I did see that this classic is a collection of essays and stories that help make up The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So this book isn't just only going to focus on the Headless Horseman, but obviously other spooky and creepy folklore, which I'm really excited about because I don't read too much of that. So I really hope that I enjoy all of those stories, but the one that of course I'm most interested in is the Headless Horseman. And that actually gives me a great segue into bringing up the last book on this TBR list, and it is Horseman, A Tale of Sleepy Hollow by Christina Henry. This book is not only considered a retelling of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but it is also considered a sequel, which I find very interesting. I've never heard of that before, so I feel like this is going to be a great time. But this is a book where I also don't really know too much about, but I saw so many booktubers talking about this book last year, and the cover for this one really gets me, so I just knew that I needed to give this one a read and also give Christina Henry a try because I know a lot of people really enjoy her books, and I just feel like I'm always seeing her being brought up in a lot of people's horror book video recs and thriller video recs, and I just want to give her a read. So right here it says, everyone in Sleepy Hollow knows about the Horseman, but no one really believes in him. Not even Ben Van Brunt's grandfather, Brom Bones, who was there when it was said the Horseman chased the upstart Crane out of town. Brom says that's just legend. The village gossips talking. 20 years after those storied events, the village is a quiet place. 14-year-old Ben loves to play Sleepy Hollow Boys, reenacting the events Brom once lived through. But then, Ben and a friend stumble across the headless body of a child in the woods near the village, and the sinister discovery makes Ben question everything the adults in Sleepy Hollow have ever said. Could the Horseman be real after all? Or does something even more sinister stalk the woods? Ooh, chills. Like, do you guys hear that synopsis? That sounds so good. So it's definitely either going to have that paranormal element, or it is probably going to be something maybe involving a serial killer or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure, but I cannot wait to get this book in the mail. I already placed an order for it and everything because I just really want to read this story. And the reason why I got The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is because, like I mentioned, this book is considered a retelling but also a sequel, and a lot of people in the reviews have said that you probably should know at least a little bit or have some context on The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in order to really like understand the references and nuances that this book Christina Henry came out with. So yeah, I just wanted to follow the rules and make sure that I don't get confused when I'm reading Horseman, because like I said, I've never read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow before, and honestly I probably should have read it a while ago because I feel like it is one of the most like famous pieces of like classic literature. So I really should finally put my foot down and actually read this one. Right, y'all, and those are all of the books that I have on my spooky season TBR. Now keep in mind that I do have other thriller and horror books that I do plan on reading throughout the season, but I didn't mention them in this video because they're going to be featured in other videos I plan on uploading in the very near future. So definitely make sure you subscribe so that way you don't miss those videos coming out, because I have a lot of books that I ordered that are on the way to me that I plan on featuring in reading vlogs and just other readathon challenges and things like that. So I'm really excited about this reading season. It's just something about fall and something about the spooky nature of it that just gets me, and I think a lot of people every single time. It's just so much fun to plan these type of like scary and maybe out of your comfort zone books that you wouldn't typically read for this season. It just goes together so perfectly. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!